We're finished.
We're finished. We never do any more interviews.
Oh yeah, that's it. No, I'd say they'll cook up a few more for us to do.
Look at this coat. He's gone for cool. I've gone for clueless.
This is Joe Sangre.
I have a little bit of a game for you guys. We're gonna play a. Oh, I'm so happy to hear this reaction.
We love games.
It's a movie version of Would You Rather, so picking between one answer or the other and briefly explaining why you would choose it. Okay. So first off, would you rather work opposite an actor who prepares way too much or not nearly enough?
Not nearly enough, I think.
Oh.
But then,
too
you know,
much.
it's hard
Too
because...
much.
Yeah, because if it's an experienced actor, too much. No, sorry, if it's an experienced, really, experienced, kind of been doing it for years, then not much. But if it's someone who doesn't have much experience, then, you want them to have done their homework.
I almost feel the opposite. I feel like if I'm working with an experienced actor, I don't really mind if he's done no prep because I trust that he can walk in and do it. Oh, yeah, wait. Yeah, that is what you just said.
Yeah, we're on the same page.
Makes a whole lot of sense. Would you rather have to do a scene where you're running throughout the entire scene or eating the entire scene?
Running.
Ooh, running.
I love running.
I hate eating in
and I
scenes.
hate taking those like small little bites that you have to take. I did a Thanksgiving dinner scene in a movie last year, and I never want to eat Thanksgiving dinner again now.
Yeah, I ate a bag of plantain chips in a scene recently, and 3 hours in, okay, we're going again. You're like, oh god.
It's the best piece of advice that that another fellow actor can give you when you're doing a scene is like, don't eat too much, because the first movie I did, I would take like a big mouthful, and then I had to keep taking big mouthfuls, and then I think Ethan Hawke told me we were all sitting around having a Thanksgiving dinner in this scene for a whole day, and he's like, Layla, don't stop eating the food, stop eating so much bread because you're gonna have to eat all that bread.
You're gonna be sick into your napkin.
Speaking of being sick, this is my favorite question because it stresses me out. Would you rather have to fake sneeze or fake vomit in a scene?
Sneeze, I think. Vomit.
Vomit. I'd rather fake vomit.
Really?
How do you?
That was like a mix of both.
I feel like it would be so false. I don't know how to fake sneeze. It's such a like.
I think this retching would make me really retch if
I'd
I went.
rather like.
I've heard that kind of story before.
I feel like I'd
and
look like an
doesn't sound
idiot
very
trying
pleasant.
to fake sneeze.
Getting there.
I was doing some additional dialogue, post production, and they're like, okay, for this bit, you've just been hit by this big blast of a wave. And so we did a couple of takes of it, and both sounded exactly like a sneeze.
Oh my God. Is that Geostorm?
That was this.
Oh.
And
when did you get hit by a wave?
like around Shangguo.
Oh,
gotcha.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And they were like, that sounded a bit too like a sneeze, to be honest. Can we do it again? I was like, why does it sound
So you
like
love
a
it when they're
sneeze?
brutally honest with you. They're like, that sounded crap.
Yeah.
Can we do it again?
It sounded weird.
Would you rather work on location or on a soundstage?
Oh, it depends. If it's freezing outside, I don't like the cold. But then sometimes the sound stages are freezing as well.
Yeah,
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so dependent. I'm going to say...
Look, if it's Hawaii, take me there.
yeah. I'm going to say
It
location.
so depends.
I think location.
I think location, though, because it's nice to be able to like travel around and see the world. We're so lucky that we get to do that with this, you know?
I hear Wellington's not a bad place to film.
It's beautiful. It's so beautiful.
And all the
Especially
good
if you enjoy
vibes,
wind.
too.
I was in a soundstage every day except for one scene, though.
Oh, yeah,
for that.
the one that's...
Yeah.
Yeah, where you're climbing up on the rubble. Wellington is a fantastic city. Also, the windiest city in the world.
Factually, I know they call it Windy Wellington, but is it? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. You'd be walking down the street and like, it would be pushed. The wind would push you faster.
It would make a good traction city, actually, because they'd be like, we could just drive it over
Wellington
there and
would have
still day.
sails. Yeah,
It
would have sails.
Yeah, windy Wellington would have big mast.
Hello.
Hello.
So yeah, I make videos about books on the internet, so I'm going to ask you some bookish questions and such. But I just want to start
Some bookish questions.
some bookish questions. They're mostly bookish.
You bookworm, you.
But the first thing I want to ask you is what really grabbed you about the Mortal Engines and made you want to be a part of the adaptation?
Well, I think that the most skillful thing about the first installment of Mortal Engines books is the way he builds the world, man. You know, the way he creates the world and keeps on creating it. I think the first book brilliantly sets up this world, you know what I mean? And then because in the second and third and fourth, they start to show you other groups and other civilizations that are kind of scraping out a living.
As a kid, what was your favorite book to movie adaptation?
Book to oh,
Yeah.
God, as a kid.
Like growing up. It doesn't have to be like when you're young.
Do you know what I had a real soft spot for when I was a kid? Were the Goosebumps books.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember them?
Yes.
And I think the guy's pen name was R.L. Stein.
Yeah.
But then there were other ones that were written by Tom B. Stone.
Oh, not
as in
R.L. Stein?
Tombstone.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But I don't know if that was, maybe I'm garbling things up in my memory. But yeah, as a kid, because I liked books and the adaptations. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, they were quite early on. They were the first books that I got really addicted
Yeah.
to as a series.
Is there a book that changed your life that you feel like had a really big impact on you?
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's been quite a few. I read all of George Orwell's books over the past few years.
Nice.
And all of his books have had a really, really, that really profound, fizzy, not necessarily a tangible thought type effect that a book can sort of leave with you.
Yes.
So recently I read 1984, and that really it left me with a profound sense of horror and despair. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that one, George is probably my favorite, which is interesting because George was a sort of early 20th century, like, political writer who was kind of quite left-leaning and empathetic to the working man, which is, it's funny that, Rob, who comes along, born in 1988, who doesn't really know much about the nature of the British sort of Commonwealth, but just his voice, something about his voice and the way he writes,
gets
you just completely, you just completely feel. And I think he strikes a chord with a lot of people who don't necessarily know a lot about what he's writing about.
What is the last book you read? Was it
Last
George
book
Orwell?
I finished recently was which one came first? I was in Bali recently. I read 2 books. I read Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. No, that was the most recent one I finished, because the first one I read was Summer House with Swimming Pool by Herman Cook, who's
Okay,
a
haven't heard
Dutch
that
author.
Cool.
His most famous one is The Dinner, which I
Okay.
haven't read, but it's been turned into, talk about screen adaptations, that's been turned into like 4 movies.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool. What's your go-to, like, recommendation book when anyone asks you for something to read? Like, read this.
Ooh, you know what? Actually, probably my favorite trilogy of books are the Foundation trilogy by Isaac Asimov. Have you ever heard of?
I haven't.
You've heard of Asimov, 1950s, 60s. He's a sci-fi writer. He wrote like 500 books, more than 500. He's complete,
Wow.
like, amazing, industrious dude. And he wrote these this trilogy of books, like before Star Wars, long before. And each chapter of the Foundation trilogy takes place 100 years after the last chapter. So each chapter is populated by a whole new set of characters that have been, that have been affected by the circumstance of the passing
one.
century, and it's just the complexity of
Yeah.
it is absolutely staggering.
Sounds really intense.
And that's been in development for a long time to become a
film.
screen thing, possibly a TV thing.
Oh, cool.
But it hasn't happened yet. And the way sometimes you think, I don't know if that will work as a film or a
You're like
TV
nervous that they
series.
won't do it
Yeah,
justice.
because it's so complex,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, part of the victory of Lord of the Rings, I think, was the fact that they
took his
really
time with
captured
it, yeah.
yeah, and they really captured the sort of spirit of the book, you know, and the complexity of the world and
Yeah.
everything, and the kind of politics between the different races and stuff.
Definitely.
So yeah, I would really recommend the Foundation trilogy by Isaac Asimov. A lot of people think that you know, Star Wars nicked some stuff from it.
Oh, wow.
That's just an opinion that's out there.
Well, cool. Those are all my questions. And
All right.
yeah, thanks for answering.
just
all
getting
these
into it.
books.
I was
Yeah,
like-
I mean, like, you can really talk about books for a while, so it's
Yeah,
hard to
I
narrow
love
it down
books.
to like 5 minutes. But yeah, The Mortal Instruments are actually some of my favorite books. So
Oh, nice.
loved you as Simon. It's
Thank you.
great. Yeah. But yeah, thank you. It was
Oh,
nice
it's a
talking to
pleasure.
you.
I did a lot of disappearing off into the wilderness.
Yeah,
you know,
you did.
I went up to this beautiful national park called Tongariro, which is in the middle of the North Island, and then there's this beautiful part of New Zealand on the top of the South Island called the Marlborough Sounds, which is kind of like subtropical, and you can go into the forest there and hike for days on end if you so desire. And I got there, it was pouring with rain, and they're like, "We're not hiring you a bicycle. That's just, you're going to end up in the sea."
Oh my god.
So I bought a big pair of thick Wellington boots and just
Literally
trudged off
Wellington
into the wild. So you can get lost pretty easily in New Zealand. And I think the main reason we were there is because Peter Jackson just doesn't like commuting, so he likes to make films 5 minutes down
It's
the road
also
from his
like
house.
so beautiful there. It makes you think like he's as well as being an incredible filmmaker, he's a pretty good location scout.
Yeah,
You know,
and
like you fly into Wellington and you're like, I get it. Like this, yeah.